So if you want your users to actually interact with their data, you might want to look into parameters. Welcome back to another Pragmatic Works YouTube video. My name is Zane Goodman, a data engineer trainer. If you caught the last Databricks dashboard video, you've already got a solid foundation on what Databricks AI BI Dashboards are and how they're structured. Now, we're going one level deeper into one of the most powerful features you can add to any dashboard: parameters. In this video, we're going to cover exactly what parameters are, how they work under the hood, and then walk through the setup process, creating and configuring them, wiring them up to your filters, and most importantly, how to reference them directly inside your SQL datasets so your queries respond dynamically to user input. So I am back inside of my AdventureWorks sales dashboard. We saw this in our overview of AI BI dashboards in my last YouTube video, so definitely check that one out if you haven't already. But this is my sales overview page. This is my product and customer insight page. These are loading. They'll take just a second. Boom. There we go. Now, to understand parameters, let's first understand, the behind the scenes. What is going on when we provide a parameter or some kind of filter? What's the difference? So if I look at any of my filters that I have, so we're not talking about parameters just yet. I have global filters here, and then I have my page level filters. What's important to understand about the filter aspect is that these filters are being applied to our resulting data set. That means that the data set that we've defined here will execute. The result will be populated. Then that result will be fed to the visuals. And then after that process has occurred, the filters will be applied, whether it be a page level filter or a global filter. That is an important distinction because that means if I want to, let's say, filter my data before I've grouped in my data set, before I've aggregated in my data set, those filters are not going to work because the data set would have already been populated at that point. So the next question would be, do parameters solve this problem? And they do. One of the biggest reasons that you would use a parameter would be if you want to apply some kind of filter, and I'm going to go through an example of a potential filter you might use with parameters, but you want to provide that filter, the parameter value. But specifically, the important part for you is that the filter is applied before the data set result has been populated. So let's look at it this way. With filters, if I am filtering across 10 years of sales data, then I apply a filter that says, actually, I only want to see the last year of sales data. Well, as far as compute goes, what we had to do first was populate 10 years of sales data. Then we just filtered down to 1 year. That is the filter side. A parameter would allow you to remove the need to populate the 10 years of sales data. And then you could specify instead, actually, I only want you to query the last year of sales data. So hopefully you can see the difference there on where the filter is being applied. Because at the end of the day, both are filters, page level and global, and then parameters. The biggest difference is when that filter is applied. And depending on how much data that you're working with, it could have huge impacts. Let's take a look at an example. Currently, I am in my AdventureWorks sales dashboard, as I've mentioned, and I'm on my data panel. I have all of my data sets listed here. I want to go through a real simple example here. We'll go through two of them. I'm going to go into my customer sales data set. And this is a very simple data set. I am selecting a bunch of columns from a handful of tables. I've got my customer table, internet sales table, product, and then I also have a subcategory that is being returned. And you can see the result listed here. Now, what I want to bring our attention to is the color column. And what I'm going to do is leverage a parameter to pick out which color product that I want to see. And that's what we're looking at here. It's product color. So I'm going to press enter here in my SQL query. I'm going to go back here so I can add in a where statement. You can see up in my select statement, I have p.color. So I'm going to say where p.color equals. At this point, I could put in a static value. I could put in, multitude of different colors here. But important part is instead of putting in a static value, we want to bring in a parameter. So how do we do that? What's the syntax here? It's pretty straightforward. First thing that you're going to need is a colon. I'm going to put that there. Then you're going to type out the name of your parameter, and I want you to pay attention to this add parameter button. Right in this location, after I start typing, something is going to happen here. So I put in my colon, and I'm going to pass in PARAM. So param underscore color. And notice as I'm typing that, this parameter has been created. Pretty cool. The colon is identifying that this will be a parameter. Everything after that is going to be the name of that parameter. So I have a statement now that says where p.color is equal to param color. Then I have a settings gear. And the settings gear just allows me to pick out some certain configuration options. I'm not going to allow multiple selections here. I do want to point this out to you. This essentially allows you to look at an array of data. So I could put in multiple colors if I wanted to. I'm going to leave this as single value. And then you have a type. So we have a couple. We're going to look at a date type here in a moment, but we're just going to work with string for now. And one of the very important pieces of parameters, and can be frustrating sometimes depending on where you're using these parameters. Important part is that it has to have a default value. It just has to. So I'm going to put in blue, and then I'm going to press enter, and notice at the top, my run button, it immediately started executing this query, and it brought me the updated results down below. And if I look at that color column, I'm now going to see blue listed here. Important to remember, this is the default value. In just a moment, we're going to look at using this within the actual dashboard itself. For right now, we are walking away with the understanding that parameter is created in this manner. We have that colon, then we have the parameter name, oftentimes used in some kind of, the context of filtering something. And then later on, we'll be able to pass that value in. Let's look at a bit more of a real world example. I'm going to go over to my combined sales data set. This is a data set that returns sales from both my reseller sales information and then also internet sales into one combined sales table. Down at the bottom, I'm going to press enter and I'm going to add in a where statement here. Why do I say this will be more real world? Well, this goes to the exact example I mentioned just a few minutes ago, which was you very well might want to limit the amount of data that is computed in the first place. If we don't need to return 10 years of data, then don't return 10 years of data. Just return the last year. Depends again on your use case, on your needs, but we could definitely apply a filter instead of a parameter here. Again, that would cost more as far as compute goes. So instead, we're going to add in a parameter here, and we're going to say where the order date. So we'll look at what's my alias here? Order date is between, and then we have a choice to make. You can see that Genie is trying to anticipate what I'm going to write, and it has static values there, which we could use. But instead, let's add in parameters. So we'll say where order date is between. I'm going to put a colon here, and we're going to call this start date. So we'll say and date. Awesome. I'm going to press enter a few times here so we can see this more clearly. So I have my where statement finished, where the order date is between start date and end date. And you can see that parameters have been added here as well, right next to that add parameter button. Now, in many cases, these defaulted to date because I had created these parameters beforehand, but they're likely going to just show as a default string. So instead, I'm going to select the settings, and you'll be able to change the display name here. You're going to be able to go down to type. This is very important for date fields. Obviously, I could put in string, but it is a date field that we're working with, so it's going to be even better for us. And you're going to want to make sure that date is selected. But remember, you have other options here too. You can have a date range, date and time time range. I'm going to leave mine as date, and I'm going to do the same thing for end date, and that is date. Beautiful. And then you'll want to make sure that the type is set to date. Now, we have two options at this point. Remember that default values are required. When I'm looking at a date range, The way that I currently have this set up is that we're going all the way back to 1985. Essentially, we're going back to before our sales information started to come through, and then we're going all the way to today to ensure that we're getting all of our sales data from all time. But I could also limit this to only 1 year. You can select the little date icon. You can put in some more basic filters, 7 days ago, 14 days ago, so on and so forth. Or you can click on the date itself, and it's going to bring up this nice UI so that you're able to go through and pick individual years, and then, of course, days there as well. At this point, we now have 2 parameters created and set up. I'm going to make sure that I run this so that it is grabbing this data with the parameters. All of my data sets look good. At this point, I can now go over to my sales overview page, which uses combined sales. Okay, now our next step will be within my sales overview page, I'm going to create a global filter. And I'm going to add a title here. We'll call this date range. And so if we look at our data set, which we just finished up, we have that range between our start date and then our end date via those parameters. So you might think, now that I have my global filter, and this would be the same for your page level filter, I'm going to go over to my widget configuration options. I'm going to select the filter, and I'm going to choose date range picker. But you're going to find that parameters are disabled. And if I go to range slider, it will actually tell me when I hover over parameters, it says adding parameters is only available for single value and date picker controls, which is definitely unfortunate. Essentially, what this is saying is we are not able to use the date range picker to say, here's my start date, pass that to the dataset query. Here's my end date, pass that to the dataset query. So we don't have that ability in this situation. However, there are a handful of solutions. One of those would be, I could absolutely go back to my dataset and understanding that, what am I trying to do here? I'm trying to return sales data in a certain range so that I can limit the amount of data that is computed and returned to me. I could instead put get date here. That will return today's date. Now, my between statement still works. I have a parameter that sets up the beginning of the range or the start of the range. When is the earliest data that we are going to return? And that's going to go all the way up to today's date. Let's try this out. I'm going to select run, and then we're going to go back over to the sales overview page. When we do, I can go back to date range. I can select my filter. I can go to single value. Actually, I'm going to go to date picker. I'm going to select parameters, look into combined sales, and select start date. You can see the default value is here. We could even change this if we wanted to. But I'm going to go now to my global filter, and I'm going to change this to, let's go up to, I only want to look at data from 2011, January 1st, all the way up to today's date. I choose that. You can see things are being executed in the background. Important to note, it's not just that a filter is being applied. The dataset combined sales is being rerun. And we can now see that change applied. Let's do another. I'm going to go to 2012, January 2nd. That will work for us here. We'll see if anything changes. And yes, we do see some changes applied. Now, of course, we're not able to go using these parameters back in time. So if we wanted to look at a specific range of data, so let's say 2015 to 2016, we wouldn't be able to do that using these parameters because it's always going to bring it up to today's date. But we could use filters for that. Once we're good on, how much data that we're bringing back from the very beginning to our dashboard, we can leverage filters here. So I can go up to my filter here that I did make some adjustments to. So let me change this back to date range picker. And we'll add our fields in, which will be combined sales order date. Boom, there we go. Now I know that my date range, the data that's being returned here, because of that parameter, is only bringing data back from 2012 to today's date. So using this filter, I can then choose, let's go to 2015. 2013, March 1st works for me. Press OK, and we'll come back 2013. We'll go to October 1st and press OK. That's going to change this. Beautiful. So in our current setup, we have a parameter. That is our start date. We now get to choose the start date as the data set is being executed. The data set will then only return data from that start date to today's date. In this case, we're going from January 2nd, 2012 to today's date. Then we use a page level filter, as we see here, to filter within that date range. All right. Now, the last thing I would say we should do here is change our global filter from date range. We can change this to start date. Just for visibility here, we would probably call this something else for a production dashboard, of course, just so that we know exactly what that is for. Then, of course, we have our page level filter. I'm going to go ahead and reset this all to default, and we're going to bring all of the data back from 1985, again, to today's date. We're looking great. Now, the final thing I want to talk about here with you is, let's say that I now publish this. I'm going to go through, publish my data set. There we are. Then I'll view the published data set, and we'll be able to see our global filters here on the left. All right, so I'm looking at the published version of my dashboard, and let's pretend that I am an end user that just views and leverages these dashboards to find out some information and answer some questions. I can now, as that end user, go to the global filters, and I can change this start date. And I can say, you know what, I actually do want to limit this data to go from, let's say, 2006, February 1st. All right, and then I'll go to, let's do February the 1st, 2009 to be exact. And we can see that that has changed. So that's the perspective of the end user, leveraging those parameters. But here is something important to remember, and you probably have already thought about this at some point in this video. As an end user, should I have the ability to do that? Because something that we do need to keep in mind with dashboards is how often the data sets are being queried. That is going to increase our cost because it's going to require some kind of compute to perform that type of action. We already have some benefits built into dashboards so we can leverage, cached results from our data sets. So do we really want to provide this ability in this example to an end user? Maybe not. So then what would be the answer to that? Well, it would be, don't add a widget like this. You could still leverage parameters so you as the owner of that dashboard can come into the dashboard at any point in time, and you'll be able to select the range using parameters in a dynamic fashion as you see fit, but your end users will not be able to come in and recompute the entirety of that data set, because every time they come in and they make a change to this filter, that data set will be re-executed. So something to keep in mind. It very well might be that for end users, it might just be better for them to focus more so on the page level filters or the global filters that filter the data sets after they've already been executed. All right, that is going to be a wrap on today's video. We have discussed what exactly are parameters, how do we implement them within a data set, and then how do we leverage that within our visuals, specifically within our filters, global filters, page level filters, and so on. Always be careful with your parameters and if your end users will be allowed to use them. And please let me know down in the comments what you would like to look at next within your AI BI Databricks dashboards, or if you have a cool idea where you think you could leverage parameters effectively within your dashboard data set. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.